President Trump insists that he can declare a national emergency to get money for his wall. Today, he says one top Democrat agrees. Quote, Congressman Adam Smith, the new chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, just stated, yes, there is a provision in law that says the president can declare an emergency. It's been done a number of times. That's not all what Mr. Smith said.
The short answer is yes. There is a provision in law that says the president can declare an emergency. In this case, I think the president would be wide open to a court challenge saying, where's the emergency?
Second part, just as important as the first there. Jeff Bennett joining me from the White House, A.B. Stoddard, associate editor and columnist at Real Clear Politics, and Paul Schmick, former DHS and TSA specialist. He's also vice president of security technology at Alliance Security. Mr. Bennett, I'll start with you, sir. How confident is this White House in its understanding of the law here?
Hey, Craig. Well, any president, including this president, has the constitutional authority to declare a national emergency. That's entirely within his discretion. That said, lawyers here at the White House, at DHS, and the Pentagon, we're told by multiple sources, are checking to see whether or not the president can legally declare a national emergency in order to build a border wall. So that is a work in progress. In the meantime, we're really in this political messaging phase because DHS officials tell me that no emergency order has been drafted. And a source close to the president also tells me that President Trump thinks just the mere talk of him threatening to declare a national emergency is enough to signal to his core supporters that he's all in on this border wall fight. So here's what the president told us yesterday on the South Lawn.
I may declare a national emergency dependent on what's going to happen over the next few days.
So you don't need congressional approval to build the wall?
No, we can use them. Absolutely. We can call a national emergency because of the security of our country. Absolutely.
And this power has been used several times in the past. Roosevelt did it to intern U.S. citizens of Japanese descent after World War II. Former President George W. Bush did it as a means of justifying warrantless wiretaps after 9/11. President Obama declared a national emergency during the swine flu pandemic. So it really raises a question. Is what's happening on the border a national emergency? Expert after expert tells us no. It's certainly a political emergency for President Trump, but there is no urgent threat to the country. Craig.
All right, Jeff, stand by for me if you can, please, sir. AB, NBC News talked to several legal analysts, and there does appear to be this legitimate debate on whether President Trump could legally do this. But one of them said the bigger constraint here is political, not legal. How do you see it?
Well, the way that I see it is that the president is relishing the prospect of using this authority he interprets as legitimate. And I think that he would welcome a court challenge as well. I think he's made it clear to those around him, and we've all we know the reporting that's been coming out since before Christmas about this shutdown. He is fighting for fighting's sake, and he believes that he has to keep fighting to show his base that he means it. And so the idea of declaring an emergency, a state of emergency, and inviting a dramatic showdown in the courts is actually something I think that he invites. He is wrong that that this is going to sort of change the Democrats' mind, and that throwing out statistics that are easily debunked about terrorists coming over the border are going to change their mind either. I do think that politically, the Democrats have the upper hand. I think they should come to the table and get something that they want. I think they should ask for legalization for the Dreamers in exchange for a few $1 billion. A wall costs well over 20. It does not cost 4. And I think that at the same time, the president is just unaware of the political cost and pain this is going to bring Senate Republicans. As we well know, the situation is becoming perilous at the airports, untenable for workers who can't pay their bills. And the story is going to shift from these TV meetings he has in the Situation Room to actually the real pain felt across the country. It's going to make it harder for Republicans to defend. We just heard from one of those workers who's clearly feeling the pain of not being paid. Paul, let's talk about the airports that AB just mentioned. What does all of this mean? The 800,000 or so federal workers, many of them former TSA colleagues, some of them DHS colleagues as well, not getting their paychecks. What does that mean potentially for the safety and security of our airports, of our skies?
Two points on this important, Craig. One is this is very different than the 2013 shutdown, which lasted 16 days, where by about the 10th day, we felt that there was enough progress with the government that we would go back. Very different. We hear we hear dialogue from the president coming possibly months, that he is bunkered down with this. So we have to consider the risk, and in the name of border security, we have to look at, are we going to hurt ourselves in aviation security in the U.S.? And that would be my biggest concern at this point.
One of the things that really struck me, Paul, and I think I just read this yesterday, the average TSA worker makes about 30 grand a year. So they're living paycheck to paycheck.
It's not a lot of money, and you can't hold on for so long. So my concern is how the federal security directors deal with the workforce that we heard the blue flu not long ago, a few days ago, because of the sick call-outs. We could expect that to rise, and as those sick calls rise, Greg, what we could expect is there will be more risk in the system, because with fewer staff, and there's only, I would say, so much patience with lines growing at airports, as we know.
Right.
The system is flexible, but it's only so flexible to deal with something with double the amount of sick call-outs that we're expecting.
Jeff, what is the latest on the negotiations?
Yeah. Well, the White House is trying to present the fact that the president is now offering a steel barrier instead of a concrete wall as a sign of a major breakthrough. But that's not entirely new, because President Trump has been tweeting about this steel barrier for weeks, and Democrats have said all along that no matter what you call the wall, no matter what you make it out of, whether it's concrete, steel, or, as Nancy Pelosi said, a beaded curtain, that it's a non-starter. They say it's bad policy and it's not emblematic of American values. So there is no deal still on the horizon. There's no public or, for that matter, any sort of private sign of negotiating or horse trading taking place between this White House and congressional Democrats.
And AB, one of the things that continues to get lost in all of this, right of eminent domain. The president's talking about building a wall, 240, 250 miles long, and the government doesn't even have the land for the wall.
This is a very relevant point, Craig. There are incredibly complex questions about eminent domain, about grazing rights for farmers who own the land, whose animals come and go, over where would be the place of a fence, a wall, and it really is. The president continues to make it sound as if this is going to pop up no problem. At that press conference last week, when he said that he has no problem with eminent domain because you just have to, we'd have no highways without it. This is another example of things Republicans have long been opposed to, but they stay silent when President Trump supports them. It was also remarkable that he said he's going to use the military version of eminent domain, which Congressman Justin Amash asked on Twitter for the president to explain, because no one's heard of it. But this is another backdrop to this issue, that it's not as simple and as easy as the president tries to make it sound.
AB, thank you. Jeff Bennett, always good to have you. And thank you as well. It's very nice to meet you, Paul Schmick. Thank you, thank you, thank you.